Hi, and welcome to the virtual information session that we are doing for the Conflict Resolution MA program at Georgetown University. Hopefully, right now we're going to orient you to our program, give you some information about how to apply, and then take any questions that might be coming in. Just as a reminder, our application deadline for the season is January 15, 2025. So if you're interested in applying, you have plenty of time to put together a great application. My name is Professor Catherine Collin, Katy Collin, and I'm the director of the MA program here at Georgetown University. And so I'll walk you through our presentation today. So, as you probably know, Georgetown University is a Catholic university that is rooted in Jesuit tradition. The school values often do well in mirroring our program values, and that includes things like social justice, cora personalis, which means care for the whole person, and along with that, personal transformation. We believe that education should prepare you for your career, and it should also be a journey of personal transformation. That is very much in line with the conflict resolution field. And the university values and promotes discernment, which is also a really necessary part of the conflict resolution field. So, in other words, our program and the university values are very much in line. And if that sounds like it aligns with your interests, then we are in the right place. The MA program in conflict resolution is part of the Department of Government at Georgetown. The Department of Government is the political science department. Now, political science isn't everything that Georgetown does, but we do it very, very well, and we're relatively well known for that. So if you come to the conflict resolution field through an interest in international relations, comparative politics, you want to know about conflict, armed conflict, war, how to resolve conflict on that scale, how to build peace on that scale, then this is the area around which this program was built. As I'll talk about in a minute, we also try to tackle conflict from a bottom-up approach. So if you're interested in, pardon me, if you're interested in conflict resolution as a community-based practice, we hope that we are a good home for you inside our program as well. Regardless, the Department of Government is where we're situated. That department is inside the College of Arts and Sciences, and that's the oldest part of the university. It is the part of the university that covers your standard core curriculum. It's not the only place in the university that does political science and international affairs. And so we often have students that take a lot of classes in other portions of the university, such as the School of Foreign Service or the School of Public Policy, but we ourselves sit inside the college and the Department of Government. We are situated in this lovely campus. This is the reverse view of campus. This is our building. It's the car barn. You can see the rest of Washington, D.C. Our location in Washington gives us a lot of opportunities to do experiential learning really effectively and to situate your education in the field inside the policy space that exists in Washington, D.C. These are some photos of our students around campus. This is when we turn the camera in the other direction, how campus looks. This is beautiful old Gothic Healy Hall. So, as I was saying, the Department of Government has several degree programs inside it. So it has a PhD program, it has a couple of undergraduate programs, it has 3 master's programs. Those 3 master's programs are in American government, in democracy and governance, and in the conflict resolution program, that's us. Each of these programs in the Department of Government is small, relatively small, And that gives us the opportunity to emphasize mentoring, to emphasize skill building, to emphasize experiential learning. It means that we can really be responsive as much as possible to the individual needs and interests of our students. So we really emphasize trying to work with our students to really advance their goals in this field to the best of our ability. Inside the department, we cover a variety of somewhat niche fields. So that includes conflict resolution. Our degree is the only degree inside the Department of Government that is not a political science degree. We are a conflict resolution degree. We're interdisciplinary, and that means that we do a lot of reaching out toward other disciplines beyond political science. We often have students that come to us with backgrounds in other social sciences and in humanities, sometimes even, beyond the humanities and social sciences. So we are akin to peace and conflict studies, to peace and justice studies, to peace studies, and all of those fields are multidisciplinary approaches to understanding what conflict is and what peace is. Also inside our MA programs in this department, we have, democracy studies, we do political economy, we do several other niche things really well here in the Department of Government. Our courses within the department are taught by people that are at the cutting edge of doing academic research in these fields, as well as people who are at the cutting edge of practice. So we in our MA program train students to address conflict at local, national, and global levels. You might, be coming to look at conflict resolution and wondering how we define the field. So the way that we think about conflict resolution is we want to understand conflict well and how to manage conflict. Those of you who have some conflict literacy will know that conflict is a ubiquitous and can be a really productive part of, just what it is to be a human. And we want to help our students understand conflict. And when you're engaging in conflict, which is everywhere in your life, how to do conflict well and so that it is productive. So that's one part of what the field is. Another part of the field is understanding what divides productive from destructive conflict. What are the characteristics of destructive conflict? What causes destructive conflict? And how do we understand it when we see it? When conflict is destructive, then how is it that we might transform it? How might we make peace following conflict? How do we make that peace sticky, durable? How do we make peace that is sustainable? So that's the third part of what the field is. It's really understanding how to do conflict well, understanding what destructive conflict is and how to analyze it, how to work with it, and then how to move beyond conflict, how to transform it, how to remake it, how to make peace and make peace sustainable. I would add that there's a big part of what peace and conflict studies is that looks at justice. And a lot of people in the field will tell you that there are two parts of how to think about what peace is. One is the absence of violence, but the other is the presence of justice. And there's often there can be a tension between the existence of justice and the making of peace. These things really support each other, but they can also be in tension with each other. So thinking about social justice and how social justice is infused in how we manage, understand, and transform conflict is part of what we aim to do with this program. One other thing I would add, since I'm adding more than one other thing. Another thing to note about the way that we approach this field is we try to erase what I consider to be a false division between the international and the domestic understandings of what it is to understand conflict and to do conflict transformation. We have really different vocabularies. We have really different literatures and academic understandings of how to do conflict analysis, peacemaking, and peace building in a US-based setting and how to do that in an international setting. The division between the way we think about these things is inappropriate, and we need to bring them together. And in this program, we really aim to think about the US in the context of everything that we know about what drives conflict internationally and how to do peacemaking and peace building internationally. And similarly, what we know about how to look at social justice, social movements, and processes of conflict management and transformation at the local and the national US level, we want to take all that knowledge and put that to use internationally as well. So that divide between looking at the United States and looking at the rest of the world, that's artificial. And in our program, we aim not to have that divide in any of our courses. The goal of our master's program is to train you to become professionals, practitioners in the field of peace, however you are going to define that. So as I've said, we define it in a variety of ways. So it's broad, and at the same time, it is also niche. So we aim to work with individual students to help you define what that looks like for you and to give you the tools to become a professional practitioner in that field, however you've defined it. There are a variety of different kinds of master's programs. Some are more academic and others are more professionally oriented. Ours is likely to be more professionally oriented, but we maintain a core academic focus as well. So we combine, in other words, in our curriculum, a traditional theory-based core of courses with training that will give you professional skills in skills-based training and experiential learning. Our faculty represents the fact that we're pursuing these two goals simultaneously. So we have faculty that are academics that do academic research in conflict, armed conflict, war, conflict analysis, etc. We also have faculty that are high-level practitioners. So people that have been White House advisors, who've been diplomats, who have been, founders of large international non-governmental organizations, ambassadors, people who are mediators, people who are facilitators. So conflict resolution practitioners at high levels, as well as academics doing cutting edge research. Those are the people that we draw on to teach our curriculum. I also want to say that the structure of our course, of our program, is that it is a 34 credit program and it takes place over 4 semesters. And it's a little bit of a breathless program. In other words, it goes pretty fast. We don't give you a lot of breaks. Those 4 semesters are fall, spring, summer, and fall. So you come in with us in late August and you graduate from our program in December of the following year. So it goes pretty quickly. As I've said, our curriculum is split between these two goals, between giving you the most up-to-date knowledge of the theory of conflict resolution and then the knowledge, skills, and experience of practice and application, practice, policy, and application. The way that we do this, I like to call it a 3-legged stool. In other words, there's 3 parts of our curriculum that we have put together to deliver this. The first part is the academic core, and so that's the theory part. The second part is the skills. Very specifically, in the skills section, we have required skills and then we'll have electives. The required skills are applied negotiations, facilitation, and mediation. So in other words, if you're a party to a conflict and you need to work something out, you're going to need skills in negotiation. If you are helping other people work out a conflict and you are there to make sure that that process goes smoothly, you may be engaging in mediation. You might also be engaging in facilitation. If you're talking to a large group and you're doing community building or you're doing harm repair or you're trying to engage in a um, little d democratic decision-making process, you may be doing facilitation. These are core skills in the field and they scale up or down. They're community-based skills, they're diplomatic skills. This is the backbone of the skills that you're going to need to be a conflict resolution practitioner, whether you're an ombuds who's embedded in a government agency, you're a diplomat for the United States, you're working with the United Nations, or you are a mediator in a community-based organization. So those are the skills that we train you in while you're in our program. In other words, we tell you what you need to know. We tell you how the skills you need to be in conflict resolution. And then the third leg of the three-legged stool, we make you go out and practice the knowledge and the skills that we're giving you in the curriculum. And that's through this third leg. It's experiential learning. So we have a capstone, that's a 2-semester sequence. And that's the practicum, practicum 1 and 2. And then you have a summer fieldwork course. The way that this all lays out semester to semester is demonstrated in this slide. What I want to show you in this slide is that you have courses in each leg of the stool for most of the time that you're proceeding through the course, the program, toward your degree. So when you come in, you're going to be doing our gateway course in theory, and then you're going to be starting on your skills building and your experiential learning. That's cohort based. So in other words, you're going to be studying with a close cohort of students. You come in, you learn, you follow each leg of the stool with your cohort. We do this on purpose. It is a pedagogical choice. And so we tend to have a really tight-knit learning community, and you can expect to experience that when and if you're with us. We also have a couple other elements of the program that you should note. One is that we have a language proficiency requirement. Another is that we have an optional thesis that you can pursue as an elective. You can also take the 5 electives that you have in your academic core and pursue, again, an optional certificate. Certificates are offered throughout the university, and the certificates of interest to our students tend to fall into a couple of categories. We have optional certificates in regional studies, so things like Asian studies, Arab or Middle Eastern studies, Latin American studies. And we also have certificates in topical areas, so things like refugees and humanitarian emergencies, diplomatic studies, global human development, gender, peace, and security are among the most popular certificates that our students pursue. And again, most of those certificates are easy to thread into your pursuit of your MA degree, and they're intended to be part of your normal curriculum, not an add-on, but something that you can do inside the degree as you pursue it. We're on the main campus at Georgetown. So if you know the neighborhood at all, you'll know that we are in the neighborhood of Georgetown. It's quite lovely and it has a nice old campus, and you should expect to spend most of your time there. I should add that we tend to be a full-time program. If you're working full-time and you need some accommodations, you might reach out and ask us about how we structure that. To return to our curricular note, I want to let you know that I am the professor of the experiential learning sequence, at least for the time being. I am the professor that will oversee your practicum as well as your summer field fellowship, your summer placement. The practicum is an interesting program. It is a little different from most of the other capstones that you might be familiar with. What we do in the practicum is bring you in. We have you form teams. We have you do research on your mutual areas of interest. And we have the teams identify an external partner. So usually that's an NGO, somebody who is in practice, an organization that's doing what you are interested in doing when you go out into the world to put your degree into practice. That's what we do in the fall. And then in the spring, you carry out a project for that partner. So with and for that partner. Um, you can see here that we have a list of relatively recent practicum projects. I always tell my students that I'm open-minded about what that could be. We have students that pursue artistic projects. We have students that pursue writing projects. We have students that pursue public information projects, right? Like seminars, webinars, panels. We have students that have conducted surveys for the Restaurant Association of Metropolitan Washington, for example. What do restaurant workers and bar workers, what do they think of changes to tip law and how might that play into, the sustainability of their livelihoods and, this part of our local economy. So in other words, that's a social justice project. Um, we had students that this last year worked at Search for Common Ground on a youth peace and security policy brief. We had students that worked with Beyond Conflict and ran a survey of effective polarization among congressional staffers. And that student team actually, one of them took that project farther and worked on it more and is turning that into a master's thesis at the moment. So in other words, we have a really wide variety of kinds of projects that you can imagine for your practicum. And that is something that you're going to be working on throughout the fall and spring semesters when you arrive on campus. And then in the summer, you go out into the world and do a summer field fellowship. The idea of the summer field fellowship was originally that if you were going to go out internationally and work in the field, you likely needed to have field experience on your resume. We've expanded the way that we think about this beyond just that goal of giving you what you need on your resume when you go out to work in the field. We really want to use this as a way for our students to get to know more deeply the area of practice that they're interested in, to get to see more to get to see more deeply how organizations in the field work, to build out their networks, to, field test their assumptions about what they want to do with their career. So sometimes we have students that come in and they say, I really want to do a thing. And then they go and do it for their summer field fellowship and they come back and they say, oh, that was amazing. I'm confirmed in what I wanted, or that was terrible. I don't want to do what I thought I wanted to do, and I'm going to change gears. Both of those are successful outcomes for me as the professor in this part of your curriculum. I want to give you the knowledge to pursue your career in the best way possible. And the Summer Field Fellowship is a really profound way for us to give you that experience. I also want to say about the Summer Field Fellowship that it's no longer just international. We ask all of our students to have a region that they focus on, and that region can include the United States. So if you are someone who wants to do local community-based work, you don't have to go off and work in Geneva with the United Nations. You can absolutely do community-based conflict resolution work for your summer field fellowship inside the United States. Or if you're an international student, you can do community-based work in your home country, in your home. So you can be in Washington, D.C., you can be in another place. We are open geographically to where you want to be for your summer field fellowship, as long as it's safe for us to send you there. Um, the other things that you should know about the summer field fellowship is that we have a stipend that is provided by the program to help you pursue the summer field fellowship. And there's a course that goes along with it. So while you're doing your summer field fellowship, you are earning credit toward your degree. We prep you to go out. We'll do pre-departure briefings, and then when you come back, we also do a debrief with the whole cohort on how everybody's experiences were. And so this is really learning inside a community where you can do some comparison. So if you're having a particular experience with the IOM in Washington, D.C., and somebody in your cohort is working with the International Organization for Migration, the IOM, in Senegal. You can compare notes on how that global organization operates across space and across issues. So that's an example from a couple of summers ago where we had two summer field fellowships with the IOM, but in really different places. So in other words, you will also gain from doing this inside a learning community. All right, so that's the summer field fellowship and the practicum. We are really excited about that as elements of our curriculum, and our students have tended to be as well. You may be asking yourself what jobs you're going to get after you finish a degree like this one. And or you may be asking yourself, what do careers in conflict resolution really look like? What are you talking about when you say that you're trying to prepare us to be peace professionals? The answer that I would give you is, again, that conflict resolution is at once very niche and very broad. Many organizations in the public space and in the private sector, in governmental space, and in non-governmental organizations have in-house conflict resolution offices or functions. So we have students that work, manning those offices, or womaning those offices, or personing those offices. So in other words, we have alumni who are, work as ombuds or as mediators or as facilitators. So actively doing conflict resolution work, both within organizations and for organizations between them and the outside world. So that's one way that you can apply that field. And again, that's in the governmental sector, that's in the private sector, that's in the public sector. Obviously, you can also go out in the world and be working on conflict and conflict resolution or peacemaking, peace building, or conflict transformation. That can be the goal, the mission of the organization that you're working with. So we often have graduates that end up in those fields. What are those fields in actuality? Well, they're diplomatic. They're also housed inside what we call the triple nexus. And so those are organizations that, as their mission, go out in the world and do humanitarian aid, economic development, and peace building. So those three sectors often operate together. That's the triple nexus. We have students that go on to work in higher education, in consulting. So there's a pretty wide variety of things that you can do with this degree, a pretty wide variety of places and spaces that you can apply these skills to. And as I said before, this is because conflict and conflict management, conflict resolution, conflict transformation, these are processes that are normal human processes. They happen everywhere. And most places are going to need people with skills in conflict resolution. This wall of text that you see in front of you represents Not where our grads from these classes are, but places, institutions, organizations that hired our graduates out of our program. So it's the first job that they had outside after they finished their master's degree. So you can see that the variety of different kinds of organizations are represented in every class that we've had since I've been with the program in August 2019. I want to say a little bit about the program culture. So as I've told you, we really believe very strongly in mentoring students. We really believe very strongly in building a strong, solid cohort. And we aim to foster a tightly knit learning community. And we do this in several ways. So one is our cohort-based curriculum. But another is through this program culture. We put a lot of effort and energy into building out a curriculum beyond the classroom. So if you were a student in our program, you would see that we'll do things that are aimed at community building, that are aimed at giving you an opportunity to see your skills in action and to do that discernment, the contemplation in action that the university really values, and so does the program. So, for example, we do 2 or 3 times in the academic year, maybe even 3 or 4 times in the academic year, we'll do a restorative justice practice that is a community building circle. So when you come into the semester, when you exit the semester, we do this contemplation and action community building activity. We also have a variety of events, large and small, that we bring to our students. So interacting with high-level practitioners or recent graduates. We do an alumni speaker series where our students have an opportunity to talk to relatively recent graduates about how they found their jobs, what their career trajectory is like, what the field that they're working in is like. We've had academics come into that and talk about their research. So that's something that we do every year. It's an opportunity for our current students to interact with our alumni and professional networks. We bring in guest speakers. So for instance, you can see in this picture, this is an event that we have done semi-annually, 3 or 4 times in a row now, where we bring in the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists who run the doomsday clock on the occasion of the announcement of what time it is in the world on the doomsday clock. That tends to happen every January. So you can see here the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists was collaborating this year, this was 2 years ago, with a group called the Elders, where retired heads of state and diplomats are working on key issues such as nuclear disarmament and climate change. So this is a picture that features Rachel Bronson, who's the executive director of the Bulletin, as well as Juan Manuel Santos, who's the former president of Colombia, Murray Robinson, who's the former president of Ireland, and was the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, and the former Prime Minister of Mongolia, whose name is escaping me at the moment. Please forgive me. He's an amazing guy. You should Google him immediately. Sorry, Elbegdorj Tixia is his name. At any rate, so as you can see, this is just an occasion where we were able to bring really high-level people to speak on both the dangers of destructive conflict and pathways to constructively engaging in conflict resolution and peacemaking with our students. So we try to do this pretty consistently. Yeah, that includes as well people who are doing scholarship and research. So we've brought in for a couple of years in a row Staffan Lindberg, who runs the Varieties of Democracy database. This year we also had Well, we have high-level academics who also come in and give us things like book talks. So you'll have an opportunity maybe to speak with authors that you're reading in your academic core courses. Uh, we also really emphasize mentoring. So as I've said, through the experiential parts of the curriculum, but also just in our day-to-day practice, we meet with our students individually on demand. Um, we tend to meet with them quite often. We mainstream job skills, job market skills in our curriculum. So while you're following your core courses, you're going to be building the skills and knowledge that you need to get your job hunt off the ground before you graduate or as you graduate. And in doing this, we also have collaboration. We're subscribers to the School of Foreign Services Graduate Career Center and the Graduate Career Center at the graduate school. So you have, or our students have, an opportunity to interact with more than one career center as we're doing this mainstreamed job market training. Okay, I want to transition to our application process. At this point, you should be thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing and I want to come. Um, how do I apply? So our application process, you're going to find it relatively standard if you're applying to grad schools right now. What you need to do is go to our website and press the Apply Now button. And it's going to take you to the interface where you can submit your application and also give you a lot of information if you have further questions. In order to apply, this is what you need. A statement of purpose, that's approximately 500 words, so it's a couple of pages. In the statement of purpose, we want to know what brings you to us, right? So why are you interested in conflict resolution? Why are you interested in Georgetown? What have you done up to now to build out those interests? Statement of purpose. We also ask for a resume, or if you're not from the United States, you can give us a CV, your curriculum vitae. We ask you for 3 letters of recommendation. I often get asked if we want to see academic letters or professional letters. I'll tell you that we have a preference for academic letters if you are just graduating or have recently graduated from undergrad. If you've already been working for 10 years, by the way, if you've been working for 10 years and you think, oh, this program is for people that are more junior than me. That's not true. We often have people who are in their mid-career. We have people who want to advance their careers or do some switching or are just want to come back because they have a burning interest in the field. This is for you, whether you are starting, switching, or accelerating your career. So if you are a switcher or an accelerator, you might include, in addition to an academic letter, a professional letter of recommendation. We need 3. We need self-submitted copies of your official transcript from every university you've attended. So if you've attended more than one, I did, it means we need all of your official transcripts. So send us both or more of your transcripts, please. We need an academic writing sample of 10 to 20 pages. I also often get asked, hey, I've been working for 10 years. My academic writing sample is really old. Could I give you something else? Here's my answer about, around that question. Your academic writing sample shows us that you are ready to come in and succeed academically in the program. We need to be able to see that you can write the kind of paper that we're going to be assigning you when you get here. So we want to see that you can use the format that we often use at the MA level at the university. Can you put together an argument? Can you marshal evidence toward your argument? Can you structure your paper? Do you use resources well? Can you source your evidence? So, the academic writing sample, we really do want to see that you can do the academic writing. And if that means that you brush off a paper that was old and you make it fresh again, that's absolutely fine. If you want to give us a something more recent that is shorter and, pair it with an academic paper up to 20 pages, that's also fine. But what we want to see is that you can do the kind of writing that we'll assign. So please, an academic writing sample of 10 to 20 pages. Okay, let's talk about standardized testing. If you are from a place in the world where English is not the first language, we ask for a TOEFL or an IELTS score. Yeah, so please send us that. GRE scores are recommended but not required. If you have GRE scores and you think they give us important information about your ability to succeed in our program that we don't see in other parts of the application, then you should submit those scores. If you don't have a GRE score or you don't want to share it for some reason, that's also fine. We read applications holistically, which means our team sits down and reviews all of the materials. So whether you have or not your GREs does not necessarily bear on your application. Please take us at our word that we like to see them and we don't mind when we don't see them. Finally, we have an application fee. And if you go to our website, you'll see that there are some small categories for whom we might, some small categories of folks who may be eligible to receive an application fee waiver. So if you go to our website, you can see what categories that is, but otherwise, we are not at liberty to offer application fee waivers. So there is an application fee. If you have all of these materials together, we will be able to read your application after you've given us the application fee. All right, so now that we're talking about money and funding and fees, let me talk to you a little bit more about how to think about funding your MA in conflict resolution at Georgetown. You should know that funding for master's programs can be idiosyncratic, and so you should pay close attention to how funding is structured at all of the programs to which you're applying. MA programs at Georgetown do not give you need-based aid. So there's not need-based aid from the university that is available. What is available are program merit scholarships. Our program, as we've said, is small, it's competitive, and because of our small size, it means that we have a small pool of funds that are available for merit scholarships. These aren't enormous scholarships. And, however, we review all of the applications that come to us. Everybody who applies is automatically in the pool that gets read for the merit scholarships. So just by applying to us, you're also applying for our merit scholarship aid that's available. We also have some research assistant and teaching assistant positions that we offer in addition to our merit aid. Again, this is relatively modest. I encourage our applicants and newly enrolled students to think about these on-campus work offers that we make as supplements to their living expenses. We additionally have a couple other categories of support that I think are pretty exciting. One is that if you need to take language courses in order to fulfill the language proficiency requirement, or you want to take language courses to pursue a language further or a new language, you've already met our proficiency requirement, but you're still studying language. It means that there is a language scholarship available most of the time. I think that this is a really generous scholarship that Georgetown offers our master's students. When I was a master's student in another program, I had a language proficiency requirement. I did not get a language scholarship. Um, Language instruction at Georgetown is excellent. So this is a really great opportunity to advance your core skills. Um, we also, as I mentioned earlier, have a relatively small but important stipend to support your summer fieldwork. Okay, this is the place where we'll look to see if anyone has questions. I am going to encourage you to reach out if you do have any questions. You're watching this at a later time. Please feel welcome to reach out to us and ask us any questions. We endeavor to answer all the questions that come into us. There's a phone number. More frequently, we get emails. Here is our email address. It's conflictresolution@georgetown.edu. All right, and that is everything about the program. Here is my face. Again, I'm Professor Catherine Collin, Katy Collin. I'm the director of uh, the conflict resolution program at Georgetown. A little bit about me. I spent several years before my PhD program working with the United Nations in the civilian side of peace operations, mostly doing election administration. So I have some experience doing the practice of, peace work. I also worked at Brookings. I've worked on Capitol Hill. So I have some policy experience as well. All right. I think that we have no further questions at this time, so I'm going to end this here. I hope that we get some questions from you into the future, and we are going to be offering an application workshop in January. So I'll come back on here and we'll talk about a little bit more about how to approach your application process and take questions from people who are working on their applications. So watch for that January time if you have questions for putting together your application. Thanks so much for your time. Hope to see your application reach us January 15th.